Have you ever heard of Plato's allegory of the cave? He talks about having prisoners that are born in a cave and their entire lives they're shackled and they're looking at the cave wall. There's a fire burning behind them and they're projecting shadows on the wall. And so all these prisoners believe from the time they're born to the time of their death is that these shadows are real and the sounds that they are making are real. And if you were to walk into that cave and release the prisoners, and they walk out of the cave and they're surrounded by the light and the beauty of earth, it would be so much for their senses that they would be frightened and they would return back to the cave into the comfort of their shackles and their shadows. What if we're living in something similar to this, like a matrix? In the simulation hypothesis by Rizwan Verne, we'll dive into this subject. Welcome to the Idea Factory.
Dude, I held that cough so fucking long. Oh my god.
You're sitting there red.
Holy fuck, man.
He keeps going back to a singular topic where we're in a video game. Like, we can't just be in a different simulation, or like he's too into the video games and sci-fi to.
But man, the video game part of what little research I did on this too is like the video games is like kind of the end all be all with this topic. It seems like.
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel like my dad watching Silas play video games. Silas is my stepson. Like I can remember my dad walking past my PlayStation 2 15 years ago and be like, "Oh my god, the graphics!
Yeah.
Like, it looks so real." And I just caught myself. I thought he was watching a show with something to do with airplanes. Just walking past in the living room, and he's playing like the Star Wars game, flying the ships around. I'm like, that looks real.
Well, Pong came out in 1972, I think. So you got two sticks and a ball, or square, really, because the pixels were so big. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, it's not even a shape. It's just some pixels bouncing around.
So within 40 years, we go from 3 squares to hyper-realistic visuals. Like, if you just walk past a room and somebody's playing Madden, if you don't really look, you can't tell if it's a real game or just somebody playing. Like, that's what's scary is how fast our development is going. I think it's called Moore's Law, where our processing doubles every 2 years.
Yeah, 18 months.
Is it 18 months?
Yeah.
So imagine in another 40 years.
Yeah.
We've just went up thousands of times.
Yeah, and even like the jump between 1970 to 1980 is almost nothing compared to what the jump has been even in the last 6 months. Like, when we think about the future, I think that's one of the main reasons why we want to start this topic or this entire podcast really is because our future is going to be so much drastically different than any other generation has ever faced because of exactly what you're talking about, Moore's Law.
Yeah, all entertainment is like, we can't even imagine what our entertainment's going to be like in 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, we've already started down the VR headsets and stuff. And then imagine in another 40 years how realistic VR headsets will be.
Yeah, and to that same point, I mean, we are at just about the point where this topic gets into a simulation and a grand creator creating a virtual world. We're a number of years away from ourselves being able to produce that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where the Nick Bostrom, which is another scientist that basically said there's 3 possibilities. either all civilizations at our pace go extinct before they get to the point of creating this simulation, or 2, civilizations with such technologies just don't care enough. They're uninterested in the simulations. Or 3, we are absolutely in a simulation.
Okay, we got to go back through these individually. Go back to 1.
Okay, 1. Every civilization at our pace of development, with Moore's law, increasing exponentially, go extinct. Like, we basically kill ourselves off, or global warming, or any kind of catastrophe.
So we don't get to the point where we can
make the simulation.
Make more simulations. Make
Yes.
make our version of
Yeah,
future simulations.
I'm saying if we're in base reality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not in a sim yet. We're the first. So basically, nobody ever gets to that point to create the simulation.
So that's so option 1 is basically the reality that we've always accepted.
Yes. Yeah.
Materialism.
Yes.
We're not
It's
when I touch an
biological.
object, I'm not touching a series of
Of
zeros and
codes,
ones.
yeah.
I'm actually touching material.
Yeah. It's base reality.
Okay. Option
2 is we're in base reality, but no civilization, not just Earth, but any planet in the universe, was uninterested in simulation, which I think is the least likely.
Okay.
And 3 is we're absolutely in a computer simulation.
So it's either no simulation ever exists, or it could exist, we're just not interested, which, yeah, I would agree.
We already create
clearly,
simulations.
yeah, we're clearly interested. We have evidence on my PlayStation 2 back in the day that we're interested in simulation. Or 3 is that.
That's why.
So there's basically two.
Yeah.
There's 2.
It
of the
feels
3.
like it's obvious.
We're either in it or not. Is what
Yeah.
it all comes down. Boils.
There's
back
no
down to.
real in between. And it's not just humans. It's any civilization that's in our universe.
I
The
need a drink.
civilization, like the simulation we're in right now, like, okay, say you are in a video game and your controller, which could be like your guardian angel or whatever, controlling you. They don't necessarily have to be human. You could be an alien controlling a human. Like, we create alien games all the time right now.
Yeah.
Since we don't know about aliens, or we don't really have the information, we just assume that it's another human.
I read something that asks, how do we know that whatever we're not looking at directly is even rendered behind us?
Well, he goes into a lot in that book, because he talks about, like, the first early video games. The reason the graphics were so bad is because they couldn't hold all this memory.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to render, like, what the player actually seen. So, like, this scene wouldn't pop up until you got to this point. So everything else doesn't really exist.
That's
It's
why
not
when you
there.
look quick one way or the other, you're still catching part of it that's still being rendered out.
So who's to say that there's nothing behind me right now? It's just
Right.
black.
Yeah. Or
The only thing that I'm perceiving is reality. There's some philosopher that was like his big thing. Like, reality only exists if you are viewing it. Like, the Eiffel Tower doesn't exist unless you're there. Yeah.
So is it in each of those 3 theories? I've struggled with this too. Is it I'm in my own simulation and I have my entire everything I'm perceiving is unique to me, or is it that we're all separately in a simulation and we're all in this reality together?
Well, there's different
Just from the theory, I know we're just
there's
everything
different
is-
possibilities. Like, we could be in an ancestor simulation. Like, they want to try to figure out a world problem. And one of the ideas is that's why we're so close to, like, a global climate change. Is like, maybe our simulation was started at this time just to see what would happen with climate change.
That's
Like, maybe they're in reality.
that is the why to why
Yes,
they're
why
they're
we're in
doing
the
this.
simulation.
Yeah.
Like, they're trying to see what could possibly happen or what could stop it, if you believe in climate change.
No, I mean that gives you a why, which is maybe the biggest part.
I mean, or you're just in a video game. Like, The Sims, the game.
Mm-hmm.
All you do is live a virtual life with
Right.
an avatar. We could absolutely do it. But this is what I also thought was cool. Like, I took my son Maddox to Walmart to pick out a video game, and we were looking at them all. And there's like all these simulation games that I've never even heard of, like Firefighter Simulator, Farm Simulator.
Mm-hmm.
So you're an architect, right? In this reality.
Yeah.
Maybe
One day.
in base reality, not here, you're in college to become an architect. What's a better training method than to live an entire life as an architect? And the thing is, time is relative. So in base reality, this lifetime could just be 15 minutes in that reality. But you have an entire lifetime full of knowledge of being an architect or anything. Maybe you're like a rehab counselor. So you join this simulation as a drug addict to see their side of it, like what they struggle with.
Oh, so you're saying you step into an alternate reality
Yeah.
to gain experience?
Like in the Matrix when he's plugging in and learning like martial arts and stuff.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
plug it in really quick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're saying you're not living that entire life. You're getting a
Yeah.
Cliff Notes version, a condensed version to.
But it
Add
feels
to your
real
arsenal.
while you're here.
Yeah.
It feels
Okay,
like an
I
entire
got you.
lifetime. But in base reality, you've only been in there for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I know he does the martial arts thing.
He does like languages and just everything. He just stays up all night just loading stuff into his brain. Yeah, I know. It's
Let me breathe a second. Have you ever maybe this one's probably just me. Have you ever been somewhere? For me, it's if I'm in a situation where I just can't stand whatever is going on. I always sometimes I'll get this feeling like, am I even here at this second?
I
Maybe
get,
that's
like,
just me that's experienced that.
I question like how I ended up here.
Mm.
Like, I guess if you're on the internet, you just like on YouTube, you end up at a video that's like completely different than where you started, and it's just garbage. And you're like,
You go down this
how did I get
wormhole.
here? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool from that perspective too. Like to think of like decision A that led to decision B to C, and then you kind of like follow your path of.
Yeah.
I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be living in Highland County again. But
I
there's
didn't either.
there's like this web series of decisions that all led back to that one decision. It's
Well, that comes, if we are in a simulation right now, do you have free will or was it already programmed? Your path was already made. You didn't actually choose it.
And could we just be like building a case that God is a computer?
Absolutely. Like, as we know it, yeah, God would be the creator.
I wonder if there's somebody in the religious world that could help us with it. Is there something in the Bible that says that there is no like actual proof of God's existence on earth? Because I mean, that's always been the perception, but is that actually written somewhere in the Bible, or is there a thought on if we couldn't find actual proof of a creator? I mean, whether we want to call it God or this master computer program or somewhere, alien guy out in who knows where. Ultimately, it's a creator, right?
Yeah. Well, I think Buddhism lines up closest. Because, like, the way when I was researching karma, like, the way we think over it over here is like, I do something nice for you, something nice is going to happen. But really, karma is just a list of, like, missions that your soul is supposed to complete in this life. Just like a video game, like, you have objectives. Like, you're supposed to learn this, you're supposed to become more wise, or whatever the missions are. And also the reincarnation part. Like, if this is simulation, after you die, you just restart.
Isn't there some scientists think that, or maybe not scientists, but religious scholars think that deja vu has something to do with, I think, Buddhism in particular and reincarnation? Like you're kind of getting a glimpse
of a past life.
Yeah.
Or it's a glitch in the matrix.
Or it's a glitch in the matrix.
No, I mean, Buddhism is very interesting. I've looked into a little bit about it, but the whole reincarnation thing and karma, it just lines up perfect with the simulation theory.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about like Neo and the Matrix plugging in all these different things. Last episode I was talking about Elon Musk's Neuralink, when you plug
Oh, yeah.
implanting things into your brain.
Yeah.
And basically right now they've got these like, they're like, look like strands of hair. They're going to drill into your skull, and these strands of hair are going to go like through your brain. They're going to like new neurons. Basically what it's going to do is make you read faster, basically accept data instantly. Like you get an email, you already read it
So
instantaneously.
it's not a chip that's going to store data. It's just juicing up your own system. Is that what you're saying?
Right now it is. But that opens the door to more like implanting memories.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like in 2013 at MIT, they found a way to implant false memories into mice. Like they actually did it. Basically, they had a maze set up and they had rooms. Somehow they were able to implant this. They had A room and B room, but they implanted a memory of pain, like shock, in room B. So every time they would be cruising this maze, as soon as they would get close to B, this like warning signal in their brain would go off, and they'd instantly get away from room B. But they
would dose them with some deja vu.
Yeah, it wasn't the mice's actual memory. MIT put it there.
What the fuck?
And with this Neuralink, they're trying to map a human brain, like to figure out exactly how it works. But right now, we don't have the processing power. So, like, this is literally just the very smallest step into like hacking your brain. He wants to integrate human life with AI. So like eventually you're just gonna become a cyborg.
You're still talking about the author, or is he talking about another scientist?
Well, this is Elon Musk's company. He talks about this in it.
Okay.
Elon Musk runs this. He basically wants to make he's like the main one that's terrified of the Terminator situation, like technology taking over the world.
So no wonder Elon Musk is actively pushing simulation theory.
Yeah.
He's the one causing the simulation.
Yes. He's the godfather of it. But
is Elon Musk the Antichrist?
I think Elon Musk is like Christ.
He's one or the other. He could be.
I mean, he does a lot of good for just because he wants to. So, have you heard of the Mandela Effect?
Very briefly. I've read the definition, but that's about it.
Do you remember a movie with Sinbad?
Yep, that one where he's supposed to be like some genie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the movie never existed.
Yeah, it never existed. But
how does everybody have that memory?
I don't know. I remember the movie.
Was there a similar movie?
Too. Yeah, with Shaq. It was called Kazam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
was he in that movie?
No.
No.
Huh?
No. Never existed. Sinbad's even made jokes on Twitter about it.
I've seen him make jokes about it too, but I was like, why is he making fun of a movie that he was in?
But not too long after that, when after he made the jokes and everything on Twitter, he came back with an actual picture of what he thinks people are talking about. It was like, I think a commercial or some little show he was on where he's wearing an actual genie costume. And people are taking that image, I think, with Shaquille O'Neal's movie and kind of
blended the two.
Yeah.
Were they coming out at a similar time?
I don't
Probably.
I don't remember.
Like if he had a commercial going on, you should check on that.
Yeah.
See if there's a commercial going on and the movie is coming out like within months of each other, because then it could like very easily like crosswire a bunch of people.
See, when you just type in Sinbad on Google, the second search is Sinbad genie.
How much do you think he hates that?
Would anybody be talking about Sinbad
No.
though without this?
Absolutely not.
I feel like he's a funny dude.
But yeah, like
Yeah, but
in
what's he done?
1993.
I mean, he killed it in Jingle All the Way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot he was in that.
He's most famous for a movie that never existed.
That's wild.
Okay, what
Give me
about
another one.
Well,
Cur-
actually, hold on, not to cut you off, but the commercial or the little TV show he was on, I can't find unless I go to YouTube and watch the video. I think it came out after the whole movie thing did, though.
Well, that would make sense.
I
Then.
think.
Okay, so the movie is out. You've got that entire thing stored in your memory, and then
And
you,
little kid sees it and just puts two and two together.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't
Or
quote
mixes
me
them up.
on that, but I'm pretty sure.
Okay, you know the Curious George?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what he looked like? Like just an image
He's a
of him?
monkey,
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm a-
and he hung out with a dude with yellow
Do
suit.
you remember his tail?
Yeah, he had a curly tail.
No, he didn't have a tail.
No.
No tail.
Nope. Here.
Curious George doesn't have a tail.
No. Here's the one I think everybody can't.
I gotta see a picture of this.
Yeah, he's looking it up.
Curious George.
Yeah, no tail. And the thing about this is like,
No way. I can see the whole.
yeah, I can too. The Monopoly Man,
Wow,
right?
he doesn't have a tail.
Describe the Monopoly Man's face to me.
Round. He's got a monocle.
No, he don't have a monocle. Never had.
I gotta look this one up because I always thought he had a monocle.
Everybody thinks he has a monocle.
He carries a thing. He carries a
Cane.
Yeah,
not a cane.
Maybe he doesn't have a monocle.
He carries a watch.
maybe a watch, but that ain't a monocle.
Yeah, but they're both similar size
Okay.
and circle.
But how come everybody thinks he has a monocle?
I don't know. It's got to be tied in with something.
Maybe.
Does the planners guy have a monocle?
Yeah, he does.
Also a white guy, also in a suit.
The Peanut Man?
Yeah,
The Peanut Man.
Planner's
is a-
dude's a peanut.
Yeah, he's not
Oh
white.
well, he's Simpsons white.
But he's a peanut.
The Peanut Man is white.
He is.
And
No,
I'm,
he's not.
He is.
I'm looking right now, and I do not see any pictures where he has a watch.
What he
Maybe
has?
he don't have
He
a
has
watch
no
either.
identifying characteristics.
He has a cane and a
Yeah.
top hat,
I'm looking.
but I don't see anything with a watch.
Oh, he has a. Oh wow, that's totally different than what I pictured in my head.
And then in the
Mustache and a top hat. I should have said top hat. I remembered that.
Yeah.
when I searched
Right here, he has a monocle.
Yeah, that's probably a link to a Mandela Effect.
Yeah,
Oh.
because the picture I'm looking at, it shows him with a monocle
right.
and without a monocle.
Yeah.
And it even says Mandela
Mandela
Effect underneath
Effect.
it.
Holy shit. Okay, give me another one.
Mirror, Mirror on the Wall from Snow White
Yeah.
was actually Magic Mirror on the Wall. She never says Mirror, Mirror on the Wall.
I need some audio on that one. Mirror, mirror on the
Oh,
wall.
we can get some
Who's
audio
the
on
fairest
these.
of them all?
Hold on, this one will blow both your minds, I think.
Okay.
The Queen song, We Are the Champions.
Oh, no, I know some Queen. Let's hear what you guys say.
Okay,
Let's
so
see.
at the very end, what's the last line? It goes, We are the champions.
My friend.
No, the very last line.
Of the world.
That's what everybody
Yeah,
thinks.
yeah, of the world.
But it don't say that. It ends at We are the champions. No, of the world. It says it earlier on in the song, which is why I think people get mixed up.
Actually, there's also a really popular concert version of that song. And at
Oh.
the end, he carries out world and goes straight into another song.
Yeah.
See, that might be where people was getting that. I've heard about this one, but I never really read up on it.
But like all of these, you hear them and it like you get mad almost. Like
Yeah.
you're changing my childhood or memory or whatever. My reality.
Isn't there one real famous one? I'm gonna say it wrong, but the Berenstain Bears.
Oh,
Yeah,
I read
that
that
was the
one,
very first one I seen, and that's what led me down this rabbit hole.
but I also read that there was another author, like in China, that had Berenstein Bears,
Yeah,
and the American version was Berenstain.
dude, I had a bunch of those books, and they all had an E. None of them books had an A.
Oh, it's well, whichever way.
Berenstain
I don't.
is the real one.
I'm not ready to die on either hill, but
I was. That's what got me into all this. man.
Berenstein.
Yeah, I was pissed.
Them Bears fucked you up.
Yeah, it changed my whole reality. I was like, nothing is real anymore. Okay, in Star Wars, when Darth Vader says, Luke, I am your father, he never says Luke. He just says, I am your father.
Well, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so I'm not shocked with that one. But that's the line I've always heard.
Yeah.
Luke, you are,
Don't
or,
they-
or I am your father.
Ain't that even like
Luke, you are
t-shirts?
my father.
Luke, I am your father.
Have you seen Hannibal?
Yeah, I know which one you're about to talk about.
Oh, boy.
So
Hannibal.
Lecter.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, hello, Clarice.
Yeah.
He never says that at all. All he says is good morning.
see, that one's fucking me up.
No.
Look it up, man. None of them make sense.
Like I
He doesn't say hello, Clarice.
can even like picture the scene in my head
I
and
can't
see
see
him
hello,
saying
Clarice.
it. Yes.
Maybe I'm full of shit, but from what I've seen, it never happens.
Or we'll have to.
I can't say that I went back and watched Hannibal, but most of these I've like double checked.
Or we'll have to post links after
I'll put
this
some
to
links.
see which one is
The one that
which.
confuses me is like the main one.
Oh yeah,
the
we
Mandela.
didn't even talk about Mandela.
Like people claim they remember seeing news stories about him dying in what the 80s.
Yeah, in
he didn't
the
die until a couple years ago.
2013. I
Yeah,
think.
but see, like I don't remember ever hearing that he died. I don't remember that.
I
one's
don't
not,
remember that either, but that was before us too.
Yeah,
There are. That is a weird phenomena where you just assume that some people are dead.
Yeah. Well, there was a Patrick Swayze one too. People thought that he had like gotten better from his cancer, and then they all found out he was already dead. They're like, "What the hell?"
So
I don't-
it could
I don't-
work.
I don't
it
remember
can
that one
work in
either.
reverse too.
man, those are kind of fucking me up.
Yeah, those are weird.
You know the fruit. This is the last one I got. The Fruit of the Loom logo. Everybody remembers a cornucopia behind it.
Yeah.
I never had it. It's just the fruit.
See, I don't remember the.
These are hurting my head way more than
Yeah.
simulation theory and just in general.
Well, I mean that's kind of where it goes into like implanted memories, false memories, or just glitches in the system.
Oh.
I've seen a lot of things where.
Now wait a minute. The Fruit of the Loom does have something behind it.
Does it?
Maybe I'm wrong. But
Okay.
I just looked at that one.
Gotcha, I'm one
Hold
of
on,
them.
I just looked that up. Well, I guess you did too. I looked that up right before we started, and it didn't happen. It changed again within 10 minutes.
It glitched back.
See, but that's a Mandela effect in itself.
Yeah.
You claim you've looked it up, you've seen it.
Yeah,
Nope. So there you go. So it's still a Mandela effect.
that pisses me off. I literally just seen it.
So do multiple people have to remember this for it to be a Mandela effect? Because I remember stuff that's happened in my own life, but it didn't happen like that.
I guess
I
it could
would-
happen individually. It
Yeah.
could be just you.
Yeah, because most people have like memories where they remember something a little bit differently than everybody else does,
Mm-hmm.
but in fact you're full of shit.
Well, that's like me and my parents. We'll talk about some memory that happened when I was a kid. We have complete different ideas about it. So yeah, I guess it doesn't have to be some major popular logo or bear spelling.
Yeah, I mean that's why eyewitness accounts of things can be spelled down in court all the time. I mean, people's memories of the exact same event can drastically differ. What was that movie where it's it's the same like 10-minute loop over and over again, watching from different people's perspective of like a building that's getting attacked. I wish I could.
Oh,
I wish I could remember what that movie was. It's the exact same thing. Just
I don't think it's the same movie, but I know there's a movie called Crash that's kind of like that too.
I mean, that could be it.
I don't know because this is about like just a car wreck.
Maybe it was. I know it was like a violent something or another.
Yeah,
It could have been that.
I don't know. I've only seen. Well, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
It's an older one.
here's something that gets me is like you hear about these every once in a while. Like someone will have a head trauma, and they wake up and they have this skill. Like there was this guy, I had his name, but I lost it. He dove into the shallow pool, hit his head, came back, and now he's a piano prodigy. Like one of the best, and can play music that he never learned. The only prior musical experience he had was he said he dicked around with the guitar a little bit. But now he's like this great piano player just from hitting his head. So what if this is a simulation, your brain has all these capabilities and all these skills where normally you have to practice and train and level up basically.
Yeah. Nature or nurture.
But you hit your head and it just kind of unlocks it like a cheat code. There's like 30.
Yeah, because you can't explain that from a nature or a nurture perspective.
That's
There's nothing in
a learned skill.
Yeah.
The dude just hit his head and is one of the best.
I guess you could argue if mom or dad did have
Genetics.
that. Yeah, if there's something in your genetics where when you knock your head, you can unlock something in your genome.
But he was playing music like, I'm just going to use an example like Beethoven, just instantly. Never learned or nothing.
That's a hard one to
explain. That makes no sense.
No. Did you read about James Gates, the theoretical physicist? Okay, he has. There's this video on YouTube. We'll post a link to it later, where he talks about finding computer code while he's researching the string theory. And the string theory, it has to do with they're looking at these elementary particles that our eyes cannot see even under a microscope. They're what makes up even an atom.
Dark matter?
I don't know about dark matter.
Okay, I might be off.
We thought for a long time that an atom was the smallest particle, but there's elementary particles that make up that. And when we look at it, even a magnifying glass or what am I trying to say?
Microscope.
A microscope can get to it, but the waves that are going to it are either passing through it because they're too big for these particles, or they're just going around them, or they're altering them completely. But he has all these equations that are kind of describing the whole study of the nature of the universe, and that leads him to find that these equations are like indecipherable from computer code, which he didn't discover that. He found these by digging into this and found that this part of the equations was written back in the 40s, which is before the internet, obviously was even around. So there's like this loop effect.
Well, that goes back to like the last episode when we were talking about DNA, and like he was asking, you find a bone. If DNA is just binary code, it's going to be there. All your information is there.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I have heard about him. He basically is saying everything is binary code, more or less. And like string theory, you ever had something like that you want to know more about and you try and it's just too complicated?
Yep.
I've tried so many times with string theory, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's too because they'll make one discovery and you'll kind of understand that point, and then they'll go to study that theory. They made this jump over here, and you're like, hold on, how did you make that jump? And then by the time they get done explaining that, you're so lost in the weeds.
Have you heard about Sophia the robot.
No.
Okay, so
She cute?
yeah, kind of. I
Okay.
don't think she has hair though.
Mm.
Basically, this company in Hong Kong, Hanson Robotics, activated her February 14, 2016. She is basically a chat bot, which like you can ask her all these questions and she'll come up with something. She's designed to get smarter over time. Like she's teaching herself. Like the chat bot was made by Google, basically.
Okay.
So like as she interacts with people, she's going to get smarter. She has the ability to learn a machine.
So what does that mean? Learning as in she's recognizing patterns? That's yeah. Kind of the...
It's like an algorithm for like responses to questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of stupid, but she received citizenship from Saudi Arabia because they thought they thought she had her own thoughts. That's how close we're getting to AI, to where they're like she has the ability to learn on her own. So
she thinks, therefore she is.
That's what I mean. Like how far off are we from an android having its own thoughts?
Completely unique to
it.
That nobody else shares. I don't know how you prove that, but
I don't know where it was. I think it was at MIT, but they created these two. They were like chatbots.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what their actual like job was, but these two had to communicate with each other, and ended up creating their own language, like binary code language, sort of. They created their own language, to where the scientists couldn't read what they were talking about to each other, so they just shut it down.
I mean, to a smaller degree, I'm reading Andrew Yang's book, and he's talking about how there's a scheduling software that's ingrained into email. So if I'm trying to schedule a meeting with whoever, I just have my bot do it, sends out an email. It looks just like I've written the email. It's not like Cody, like you've kind of seen, just like spam. It doesn't look spammy at all. But that person gets it. Well, it was talking to another one that had the exact same software, and these two bounced back and forth until they hashed out a meeting time. So that's like a beta version of kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's getting scary.
Yeah, like why do we want technology that can think for themselves? What's the end game
what's
on that?
The upside?
Yeah, what's the point? Like the stuff we have now, like you can program it to do stuff at a certain time. Why do we need something to decide for itself when it's time to do that?
This is going to bleed directly into automation, into universal basic income topic. I cannot wait for that one. That one's coming up in a few weeks, just as a tease.
Yeah, I don't think there's any upside to giving them free will and emotions and.
Yeah, I mean, horrible example. You ever seen the movie I, Robot?
Yeah.
Will Smith?
Exactly.
Like, if we're
Damn
already
we made a movie about this.
If we're already like to the point where like
we can't bring back dinosaurs and we can't make robots that think.
No, but if we're already to that point where we are having technology kind of think for itself, that's not really too far off from something like that could happen, because 30 years ago, if somebody watched a movie about this, they would have never believed this would happen, and it's happening. So what's not to think that wouldn't happen?
Yeah. I've gotten to the point where I think there's only two outcomes that can come, and like even in the next 100 years, is we'll have like almost a utopian society, like the very closest thing. Like we actually as humans get our shit together and we create something that's way above what we're experiencing right now, or the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a Hegelian prophecy. We're at like this crossroads, and it doesn't feel like it's right here on us, but it is.
I just feel like we're a lot more peaceful than we were.
I would agree with that.
Like,
I think kids are a lot more peaceful.
Yeah.
Is that,
well, just
in general?
Society.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson, the president, was in duels. Like dueling on the street.
Like dozens of them.
Yeah. Like society's not the same. This ain't the Wild West anymore.
How badass do you gotta be to win like 20 duels though?
You gotta cheat. That dude was cheating. There ain't no way.
That's probably true.
JFK lost his first.
Damn.
I like that. So we're basically in the Truman Show. That's kind of what we're saying here.
Yeah.
We're just a little pet, and somebody up in the sky or somebody way smaller than us is
Yeah, it's completely possible.
our master.
We're just an entertainment. We could just be a TV show. Just
It's like that South Park episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is Earth.
I mean, they could just be sitting up there. Like, you look at how wild news is getting. Like, just every day, it's just something like that you just laugh about because it's just so outrageous.
Yeah, it is.
It just doesn't link up with reality, man.
We pretty well at a stopping point with this one.
Yeah, I think so.
What are we looking at next week?
Bigfoot and aliens.
Bigfoot and aliens.
I'm gonna tear that shit up.
What if Bigfoot is an alien?
So, you don't. I'm salivating at this one.
Man. So what are you reading? Anything?
I'm not going to read anything in particular. I'm just going to more go over the big news that we've heard, like the 1960s footage of Bigfoot and how that turned out to be fake, and then all the Area 51 stuff.
If you can bring me even one shred of something for me to hang on for Bigfoot, I'll be impressed.
I'm not going to get into it. We'll get into it next week.
All right, guys. How do we end this thing?
Same way we ended it last week.
Play music, and out we go.
Yep. Go learn something.
Question everything, leaving your reality.